100,000. I really want you to take a second and just think about that staggering number. 100,000. That is exactly how many times your heart beats every single day. And the crazy part? It happens without you having to ask it to, without you having to consciously think about it or schedule it. It literally just does it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're going to look at the human heart not just as a biological organ, but as what it truly is, an awe-inspiring automated muscular pump. I mean, it is, quite simply, the perfect machine. Today, we're going to deconstruct exactly how this flawless engine keeps us alive, second by second, decade after decade.
To do that, we're taking a strict machine deconstruction approach. Our agenda today covers the relentless pump, the path of blood, the electrical system, the history of discovery, the microscopic level, and finally, caring for your engine. All right, Section 1, the relentless pump, the 5-liter engine.
Right now, at this very moment, your heart is pumping about 5 liters of blood per minute throughout your entire body. Even if you're just sitting there completely at rest, it is actively working at a steady rate of 60 to 100 beats per minute. Now, every single one of those beats is part of what we call the cardiac cycle, and it operates on this perfectly balanced 2-part rhythm. First up is the systole. This is the contraction. The heart forcefully squeezes, physically pushing the blood out of its chambers and into your body. Then, almost instantaneously following that, is the diastole. That's the relaxation phase. The heart muscle relaxes, allowing the chambers to rapidly fill back up with a fresh supply of blood. Squeeze, relax, push out, fill up. This incredibly dynamic mechanical rhythm is literally the fundamental basis of your life.
Which brings us to Section 2, the path of blood, the hydraulic engineering.
Now, what's really interesting about this internal plumbing is the never-ending loop. Let's walk through it by tracing the exact journey of just a single drop of blood. Step 1, the blood, which is now completely depleted of oxygen after serving your organs, travels from the body back to the heart. Step 2, the heart receives it, but it can't just send it back out yet. Instead, in Step 3, the heart pumps this oxygen-poor blood straight to the lungs. Why? To pick up a fresh supply of oxygen. In Step 4, it comes back from the lungs to the heart, fully oxygenated and good to go. And finally, Step 5, the heart powerfully pumps this oxygen-rich blood out to the rest of the body. From the body, to the heart, to the lungs, to the heart, and back out again. Over and over without hitting pause ever.
But, for any hydraulic system to actually work efficiently, fluid can only flow in one direction. Backflow would be an absolute disaster, and that is exactly where your heart valves come in. Think of these 4 valves, the tricuspid, pulmonary, mitral, and aortic valves, as highly efficient one-way doors. When the heart pumps, these doors swing wide open in a fraction of a second to let the blood pass through. Then, the split second the blood moves forward, they snap completely shut, sealing tight so not even a single drop can flow backward. Moving right along to Section 3, the electrical system, the internal wiring.
So, we have the plumbing and we have the pump itself, but what actually tells that muscle to squeeze? Well, your heart is literally powered by electricity generated completely from within. Step 1, it all starts at the sinoatrial or SA node. This is a tiny cluster of specialized pacemaker cells that automatically generate an electrical impulse, sparking the beat. Step 2, that spark travels down to the atrioventricular or AV node. Now, the AV node acts kind of like a microscopic traffic controller. It slightly delays the signal, just enough to ensure the heart's timing is absolutely perfect so the chambers can fill completely. Step 3, the electrical impulse then shoots down through the rest of the heart muscle, triggering that massive physical squeeze. And remember, you don't have to consciously think to generate this electricity. Your pacemaker cells handle the whole shebang automatically.
But your body still has to act as the ultimate supervisor over this automated system. Go ahead and notice your own pulse right now. If you're sitting comfortably, totally relaxed, your nervous system is actively sending signals to slow the heart down to conserve energy. But if you were suddenly frightened or, say, took off running, you'd enter a stressed state. Instantly, your autonomic nervous system and your hormones stepped in to safely override the heart's default speed. They accelerate those electrical impulses to pump oxygen way faster to your muscles. It is an absolutely flawless feedback loop.
Let's see how this builds in Section 4, the history of discovery, deciphering the machine.
You know, for a really long time, humanity had no idea how this machine actually worked. The 2nd century physician Galen had some early ideas about blood flow, but they were, well, largely incorrect. It honestly took a massive scientific revolution to finally decipher it. In 1628, William Harvey published De Motu Cordis, which completely revolutionized modern physiology because he proved that blood continuously circulates in a closed loop. Then, a few decades later, in 1661, Marcello Malpighi brought the whole picture into much sharper focus. He discovered capillaries, which definitively proved exactly how arteries and veins connect. And then, skipping ahead to the 20th century, 1903, Willem Einthoven created the electrocardiogram, the ECG. This was a real game changer because it physically recorded and proved the heart's electrical activity. Einthoven actually won the Nobel Prize for this in 1924, paving the way for all the incredible cardiac studies and imaging we rely on today.
Let's zoom all the way in for Section 5, the microscopic level, the cellular gears.
Okay, now that we know how we figured this out from the outside, let's zoom deep inside the cells themselves. Inside the heart muscle, you have these special cells called cardiomyocytes, and inside those cells are these incredible proteins called actin and myosin. The equation here is beautifully simple. Actin plus myosin plus calcium equals perfect contraction. When calcium enters these cells, it acts as the vital trigger. It causes the actin and myosin proteins to physically interact, literally sliding past each other and ratcheting tighter. This microscopic interaction, which is happening simultaneously across millions of cells, is what actually creates the physical squeeze of your heart. And this exact chemical reaction happens millions of times a day. So the crucial point is how this microscopic machinery adapts on the fly. And this perfectly illustrates what's known as the Frank-Starling law, established back in the early 1900s. This law outlines a beautiful physiological principle. The more the heart fills with blood, the stronger it contracts to pump it out. Think about it. If you're exercising and a ton of blood rushes back to your heart, those tiny muscle fibers stretch further. And because they stretch further, they snap back with much greater force, pumping out exactly the amount of blood your body demands. It's literally self-regulating perfection on a cellular scale.
Finally, Section 6, caring for your engine, vital maintenance.
Look, even the most perfect biological machine requires upkeep, because when this engine breaks down, the consequences are severe. Think back to the systems we just explored together. If the plumbing gets damaged, specifically if the arteries become blocked, the muscle doesn't get oxygen, and that leads to a heart attack. If the internal wiring, those SA and AV nodes, malfunctions, you get an arrhythmia, which is a really dangerous problem with the electrical rhythm. And if the pump itself just becomes too weak or damaged over time, it leads to heart failure. These are the very real risks of engine failure.
But the good news is, modern medical science doesn't just tell us how the heart works, it tells us exactly how to protect it. To maintain this engine, the actionable takeaways are incredibly clear and they are deeply rooted in physiological science. You need a healthy diet to keep that plumbing clear of blockages. You need regular physical exercise to keep the muscle fibers strong and highly responsive to that Frank-Starling law we talked about. You absolutely need good sleep to allow your autonomic nervous system to rest. And crucially, you must manage and avoid excessive stress so you keep those stress hormones from endlessly overworking your heart's electrical pacemakers.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this really mind-blowing thought. Your heart actually started beating around the 3rd week of gestation, even before you were fully formed. The electricity fired, the actin and myosin grabbed hold, and the pumping began. And it has literally never stopped. It's going to beat 100,000 times today, pumping 5 liters of blood every single minute, perfectly adapting to every physical and emotional demand you put on it. So, knowing how flawlessly this automated pump works to sustain you, what will you do today to care for the engine of your life?